Hello everybody. We have studied in our previous lessons finding the surface areas and volumes of the combination of solids. Now in this lesson we will study finding the surface area and volume of the frustrum of a cone. So welcome to the lesson. We have already studied about cones. Now let's take a plane surface parallel to the base of the cone and cut the cone. So what happens? It results in two pieces. One piece will be a smaller cone and the other piece is going to be a solid that has two circular surfaces. So this is called the frustrum of a cone. Generally, if you see the glasses, they are in the shape of a frustrum. Now we will see how to find, or what are the formulas to find the volume and the surface area of the frustrum of the cone. Let's look at this frustrum where h is the height of the frustrum, r1 is the bigger radius, r2 is the smaller radius and L is the slant height of the frustrum. Then the volume of the frustrum of the cone is given by the formula 1/3 pi times h times r1 squared plus r2 squared plus r1 r2. We are not getting into the derivation of these formulas, we are just using the formulas in the problems. The curved surface area of the frustrum of the cone is given by the formula pi times r1 plus r2 times L. How can we find the slant height L? By using the formula square root of h squared plus r1 minus r2 the whole squared. The total surface area of the frustrum of the cone is given by pi L times r1 plus r2 plus pi r1 squared plus pi r2 squared, and L you find it in the same way, square root of h squared plus r1 minus r2 the whole squared. So these are the three formulas that we need to know or we can use in finding the volume, the curved surface area and the total surface area of the frustrum of a cone. Based upon these formulas, let us try to solve some problems. Let's try this problem. The radii of the ends of the frustrum of a cone 45 centimeters high are 28 centimeter and 7 centimeter. Find its volume, the curved surface area and the total surface area. We can use pi as 22/7. So let us first write down what is given for the frustrum. The height of the frustrum is 45 centimeters. So we know what's h. So h is 45 centimeters. And the bigger radius r1 is 28 centimeters. The smaller radius r2 is 7 centimeters. We can find the height of the frustrum. Let us see. We know h, we know r1, we know r2. What is the formula to find the volume of the frustrum? It is 1/3 pi h r1 squared plus r2 squared plus r1 r2. Let's plug in those values. So when we plug in the values for h, r1 and r2 and solve the problem, we get the volume of the frustrum as 48,510 centimeter squared. So very easy, you should know the formula, identify what are the variables given, plug it in. Now let's try to find out the curved surface area and the total surface area. Now in order to find the surface area of the cone, the frustrum, the curved surface area, what is the formula of finding the curved surface area of the frustrum? The formula to find the curved surface area of the frustrum is given by pi times r1 plus r2 times L. But we need to find out L, and we know the formula to find out L is square root of h squared plus r1 minus r2 the whole square. So we can easily plug in these values and find the answer. Let's do that. When you plug in the values for h, r1 and r2, you get square root of 45 squared plus 28 minus 7 the whole square. When you simplify them, you get 3 times square root of 15 squared plus 7 squared. And when you simplify this further, you get 49.65 centimeters. Now we know L. We can easily plug in into the formula of the curved surface area and find out the answer, which is going to be the curved surface area is going to be pi 22/7 times R1 plus R2, 28 plus 7 times L. We just now found out L, which is 49.65. Simplify this and you get 5,461.5 centimeter squared will be the curved surface area. Can we find out what is the total curved surface area of the frustrum? We will use the formula and plug in the values. We already know what is the height R1, R2, and we found out what is the curved surface area. Now we need to find out what is the total surface area, total curved surface area of the frustrum. So total curved surface area of the frustrum is given by the formula pi times R1 plus R2 times L plus pi R1 squared plus pi R2 squared. But if you observe, pi R1 plus R2 times L, this is nothing but curved surface area. So I can plug in the value 5,461.5 for this, and for the rest we can easily do the substitution and do the problem. Let's try that out. So we will have pi R1 plus R2 times L, that's going to be 5,461.5 plus pi R1 squared, 22/7 times R1 is 28, so 28 squared plus pi R2 squared, which is 22/7 times R2, which is 7, so 7 squared, and the whole thing. When you do the calculation, it's going to be 8,079.5 centimeter cube. So this will be the total curved surface area of the frustrum. We just have to remember the formulas, identify the variables, plug in the variables, do the multiplication, addition and squaring very carefully, and we will get the answer. Let's try this. Hanumappa and his wife Gangamma are busy making jaggery out of sugarcane juice. They have processed the sugarcane juice to make the molasses, which is poured into molds in the shape of a frustrum of a cone, having the diameters of its two circular faces as 30 centimeters and 35 centimeters, and the vertical height of the mold is 14 centimeters. If each centimeter cube of molasses has mass about 1.2 grams, find the mass of the molasses that can be poured into each mold. Pretty easy. The first thing is figure out what is the volume of this frustrum, and then since the mass of each centimeter cube of molasses is 1.2 grams, we will multiply that 1.2 with the total volume of the frustrum, and then we will get the quantity that will be filled into that frustrum. Let's figure it out. First thing, let's identify the variables. Given the radius, the height is 14 centimeters, so we know that h is 14. So we can make a list here. The height is 14 centimeters and the bigger radius is 35 centimeters. and the smaller radius R2 is 30 centimeters. We know what is the formula to find the volume of a frustrum, which is pi by 3 times height times R1 squared plus R2 squared plus R1 times R2. So, you need to just plug in the values and find that out. So, let us try that. Just to make a correction over here, the radius is 35 over 2 and R2, the radius is 30 over 2, because in the question the diameter is given. So, the radius will be half of the diameter. So, our volume is going to be 1 over 3 times pi, which is 22 over 7, times height, which is 14, times R1 square. The diameter is given as 35. So, the radius will be 35 over 2 squared plus R2 squared. The diameter is 30. So, it is going to be 30 over 2 squared plus R1 times R2. It is going to be 35 over 2 times 30 over 2, and now we can easily calculate. So, when we do the calculation, the volume of the frustrum is going to be 11,641.7 centimeter cube. So, this is the total volume of the frustrum, but it is given that 1 centimeter cube of molasses has a mass of 1.2 grams. So, the mass of the molasses that can be poured into the frustrum will be the total volume times 1.2. So, the mass that will be poured into the frustrum will be 11,641.7 times 1.2 grams, and that is going to be 13,970.04 grams. Change it into kgs. So, it is going to be 13.97 kgs, approximately 14 kgs of molasses can be poured into the frustrum. So, pretty simple problem. Use the volume, multiply it with 1 centimeter cube, the mass of the molasses, and you get the total mass that will be filled into the frustrum. Great. Thank you for watching this lesson, and this completes the volume, finding the volume, the curved surface area and the total surface area of the frustrum. Keep watching, keep trying, keep putting your efforts into the problems, work out more number of problems, and then you will be able to become efficient in solving problems in this lesson. Thank you very much for watching this lesson.